All right. Well, it is early in the afternoon hours on Friday. And it's time to show up. I'm showing up. I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate every last one of you. And we're going to get very complex and very weird here because we're going to talk about some economic concepts. And the major thing that I want to talk about is I've seen a lot of people lately complaining about how the American economy is completely fucked up, and you can tell because so many people have nothing. Fair systems frequently produce unfair results. And we're going to talk about this in a great deal of detail. I've written up a sort of just a moderately complex economic simulation here, and it's not a whole lot, but I'm going to walk through it here. Okay, so we're going to start off. We're going to use 1,000 people. All right, we're going to start with 1,000 people, and we're going to produce a capital pool, which is how much money each of these 1,000 people have. And everybody's going to start with the same amount of money. They're going to start with one Quatlu coin, just one. And here's how this economy works, okay? We're going to calculate each individual step, which you can think of as a day or a week or a month or a pay period, a year, however you want to think about it. But every step of the simulation, here's what's going to happen, all right? You're going to take your Quatlu coins, however many you have, and you're going to flip them. You're going to flip all of your coins, and when the coin comes up heads, you will magically get a second coin. But if the coin comes up tails, it magically disappears. And this is all just, it's magic, fuck you, okay? We're not going to simulate how the faucets and drains really work. The spigot is magic, the drain is magic, and the money comes in from nowhere, just like it does in a game. The money goes out to nowhere, just like in a game. But there's some additional complexity that I built into this, which is currently not enabled, okay? I have taxation built into this. And the taxation includes, first of all, how much tax people pay. It's a flat tax. Everybody pays the same amount of tax. If you have enough money, which is the threshold right here, then you're going to pay tax. And you're going to pay the same amount of tax no matter how much or how little money you have, as long as you have over the threshold. And then we've got an income redistribution variable. This is how much assistance we give to the poor, which is to say, once we've collected all the tax, we're going to turn around and we're going to give money to the poor until we run out of tax revenue. Okay? We're not going to worry about that yet. We're going to leave all of this at zero. Now, then we've got all of the various counters and whatnot, and then we've got a report that comes in at the end. I'm going to scroll down here. We're going to start telling you about the actual code. First, we initialize the capital matrix, which we do by just creating a new integer array. And for every single member of the array, each person gets their starting coins. They get the initial number of coins. And then every day, we increment the counter, we reinitialize the total capital in the system, and we have our economic activity, which is just every person flips their coin. If it comes up heads, they get another coin. If it comes up tails, they lose the coin. And we keep a running total of the total capital in the system. Then at the end of this, we sort lowest to highest. We're not going to worry about taxation right now. We're not going to worry about redistribution right now. But once taxation and redistribution are handled, then the array is sorted again. And then we count up all the people who still have 0 coins. These people are destitute. They can no longer participate in the economy. And then we have a report where we say, this is how many people are poor and got money from the government. This is how much the richest person has. This is the total amount of capital in the system. And here are the top 10 people in the system and how many coins they have. And finally, if we gave everybody in the population at least the income that we were trying to give them, then we're going to have surplus revenue. And we're going to say there's revenue left over. But what we're almost always going to have destitute population. And because we're not doing taxation and redistribution the first time through, it's always going to come up destitute population. So if we start out with this, and we're just running 7 steps, okay? So we're just running through, it's 1 week, 7 months, like whatever you want to call it, okay? Pay periods, what have you. So I'm going to run this, and when I run it, it's going to come up on the other screen, and I'm going to drag it down here so you can see it. And you can see here, on the first day, 507 people lost their coin. They started with 1 coin, and they lost it. This was not because of discrimination. It wasn't racism. It wasn't sexism. It wasn't that the rest of the people were privileged. It was a perfectly fair coin flip. 507 people lost. And they're all destitute. The top 10 people, well, they only have 2 because everybody started in the same place. On day 2, 648 people have lost everything. The richest person has 4 coins. The top 10 richest people all have 4 coins. There's a total of 938 coins in the economy. Now, as you go down this, you notice the number of poor and destitute creeps up and creeps up. And after 7 steps, there are over 800 poor people. 80% of the population has lost everything at this point. This is a fair system. This is a fair shot. This is a fair shake. There's no privilege here. There's no discrimination here. Everything is perfectly fair. And yet 82.6% of the population, after 7 steps, dead fucking broke. But let's fix this. Let's come in here. You know what? What if we started out? What if we said, okay, everybody gets 7. Everybody gets 7 coins to start with. We're doing 7 steps. Why don't we give everybody 7 coins to start out with? Well, you would think that this would work out better. But in practice, I mean, it kind of does. But you still have 23% of the population completely fucking broke after 7 steps. At the beginning, you got a bunch of people that are doing well, okay? But even the top 10 didn't all get all of their results. The number 10 person on here, 9 people got heads 7 times in a row, but the 10th person only got it 6 times in a row. And you see down here at the end, after 7 days, the top person has 40. They have 40 coins. But 23.2% of the population has nothing at all. Starting out with more doesn't actually help. So let's talk about tax. Let's say, first of all, okay, if you make more than, you know what, let's run a simulation real quick and let's take it the reality of the numbers before we do anything. And we go, okay, let's say 8. Let's say that if you have 8 coins or more, actually, let's do better than that. Let's go, if you have 4 coins or more, okay? So if you have 4 coins, then you have to pay a tax of 1. And we'll give everybody an income of 1 based on that. Now let's come down here and take a look at how that taxation works, okay? What we're going to do is we are going to go down through all of this, and we're going to take from the people who make the most money, okay? We're going to take everybody who makes more than the threshold, not exactly the threshold. If you have 4 coins, you keep your coins. But if you have more than 4 coins, we're going to charge you the tax, and we're going to add it to it. You know what? We're going to say, even if you have equal to the threshold, we're going to take the tax away from you, and we're going to add that tax to the revenue. And then we're going to go through all of the poor. We're going to go through all of the poor at the very beginning of everything, which is everybody with less than the income. Everybody whose capital is less than the specified income, we're going to make sure that they have the bare minimum of that income. And what we're going to find is we're still going to have destitute people because we're going to run out of tax revenue before we run out of poor people. That's not going to happen immediately, I don't think. Well, it could. But let's see what happens. Let's run that, and you'll find here that we still have over 60% of the population is poor, and 52% is destitute. We still have all of these destitute people because there's just not enough to pay for it. We started out on our first run, okay? We had 502 poor. The richest person had 2. And then on the second day, you'll notice that the richest person has 3 because they were taxed before we printed the report. But we still have a destitute population of 508. The destitute population is still going up. It's still rising. We're still getting more people. It kind of stabilizes around 2/3. But notice, even with the income redistribution, even with getting people back to their initial stake by taxing people, we would have to tax everybody. In fact, let's try that. Let's try just taxing everybody. Let's say if you have, the tax is going to be 1, but the threshold is going to be 2. Okay? If you have 2 coins, then we're going to take one of your coins away. And we're going to use that to give everybody money. And what we end up with here, we've got an out of range capital. What is going on? Index is outside of the boundary. Capital poor is less than or equal to income, poor plus. Oh, okay. Okay, let's move. God damn it. Poor is less than income, poor plus plus. Can we just do commas in here? Poor is less than, what do we call that? Poor is less than count. Is that allowed? No, that's not allowed. Poor is less than count. And capital poor is less than income. Okay. So we can't just do commas. I missed straight up C. Okay, so we go through this. And you notice that we're taxing everybody and we're redistributing all of the money. Nobody can make any money. Nobody is allowed to make any money in this economy. If you make any money, we're going to take it away and we're going to give it to the people that lost money. And look, everybody's still losing money. We have surplus revenue at a couple of these places here. Okay, we've got a surplus revenue of 20 here. The economy did well. Okay, and because the economy did well, we had surplus revenue. But that surplus revenue disappears and then we get destitute population. And the destitute population rises. Let's try and run that over a longer period of time. Let's do a length of, say, 21. Let's run that 3 times as long, and we'll see how it goes. We have a destitute population of 156. Over 21 economic periods, we have 15.6% of the population destitute. Absolutely broke. We do not have the tax revenue to pay them. Even in a perfectly fair system, the bottom of the scale is always 0. And because the bottom of the scale is always 0, there are always going to be people down there. That's always going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. But let's try and make this a little bit more equitable. Let's say the threshold is 5. The tax is 2, and the income is 1. So if you make 5 or more, if you have 5 or more coins, we're going to take 2 of them. And we're going to give everybody who doesn't have a coin. Now we'll take this back down to 7, because that's a good level. And then when we run that one, what we find is we still have a destitute population. We still have a destitute population of almost 60%. You end up with this every single time. It happens over and over and over again. And you still find that your richest person, they have 8 coins. They're still doing fairly well. What if we run this a longer period of time? What happens if we run it for 21 steps? Are things going to get better? Are they going to get worse? Are they going to stay where they are? They're pretty much going to stabilize around 60%. And look, we've stabilized right around this 8 to 12 range. It's right around 10 is the average. The richest person is going to sit right around 10 most of the time, even over this long period of time. And you can see that. You can see the 8s and 10s and 12s. There's always going to be people that have more money. That's always going to happen. And when you have a functioning economy where people can get a lot more than even money out of various bets, once you start adding more and more complication to this, there's no privilege here. There's no discrimination here. This is sheer blind luck. And it still looks amazingly like our economy in capitalist society. Because, and this is a secret nobody likes to say out loud, most success under capitalism is blind fucking luck. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. It has nothing to do with how good you are. It's blind luck. It just happens. Some people lose and it's not their fault. And some people win and it's not because they're so great. Shitty people win. Good people lose. It happens all the time. That is the natural outcome of any economy. You cannot fix this. Shitty people will do well, good people will do badly, and you can't change that. You can't fix it. It's always going to be like this. You can run the simulation with any numbers you want. It still ends up. Most people end up with jack shit. Most people do not get anywhere. They do not accomplish anything. And that's not because the system is rigged. That's not because the system is fucked up. Nothing is rigged or fucked up here. Everything is fair. Everything is above board. But people lose. That is life. That is just how it goes. All you have to do is keep trying. Anyway, do a little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. Okay, bye.